Woo, I'm good.
So fancy.
Can you guys hear us?
Yes.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Welcome. We're gonna share screens too.
All right.
And I think we'll do it side by side because that makes sense. Great. Does that work for you all? Can you see our presentation?
Yes.
Great. Do you want us to get started?
Yeah, you guys can get started.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Lindsay Rossler, my colleague, Colleen Simon.
Hello.
And we're both going to talk to you tonight about some curriculum work that we've done with the Fortunoff Archives at Yale. Me and my role as a high school teacher and Colleen as a middle school educator. And this curriculum is really an opportunity to engage in both the testimonies from the archives and in American and world history. Let's see. Is it going to let me just, let's see. There. So before we get started with the curriculum and the way that it connects Jim Crow America and Nazi Germany, I want to just mention a little bit about what the archives are. So the Fortunoff Archives were started by Holocaust survivors in the New Haven area in the late 1970s and early 80s. And it was the first survivor-started archive in the country, which I think is profound, right? So it comes from our area, if you are in this area, and it is very authentic to exactly what survivors wanted to say and how they wanted to say it. And what this curriculum that we're going to talk about offers is a way to weave together both the testimonies of the Holocaust survivors and an African-American GI by the name of Leon Bass, who was part of liberating concentration camps and served in World War II and gave his testimony as well. And so the curriculum, for those of us that teach world history, it allows me to bring America into the story and situate the Holocaust and Nazi Germany in this context that is very relatable to my students as Americans. And then for American history educators, I imagine, and Colleen will talk about this, that it allows to broaden the lens of American history and put it in the context of what was happening in the world. So at the heart of all of this, of course, is testimony. And there is something to be said about doing this comparative work, right? What does it mean to really frame history through a comparative lens? Like when we're looking at the Holocaust and Nazi Germany, and then we compare it with Jim Crow America, like what are we really saying about history there, and what is the value of the comparison? And since Colleen and I, well, we're fabulous educators, of course, but there is a historian by the name of Tim Snyder who did he gave, I guess, an interview of sorts a few years ago when we did a teacher institute about this curriculum. And he spoke both about maybe why you shouldn't do comparative history and then why you should. Given that we are showing you some comparative history curriculum, we decided we would show you the few-minute segment where Tim Snyder talks about why you should compare it. And so we would love to show that to you now and then maybe get a few ideas about what he's saying about the value of the work that we're about to show you. So now you have to give me a minute because it's not going to want to play from here and I have to go figure out how I'm going to play it.
I think it's on the next slide.
It is on the next slide, but it won't let me play it that way. I have to figure out how to get to the, see? So, but maybe it'll, how do I get to the rest of the screen, Shane?
Click exit, escape.
I did that. It hates me. Ah, there we go. Wait, is it gonna let me play it like this?
Try.
No. Okay, so then it is down here. Bear with me, friends. We've got this.
So, hi, greetings, Tim Snyder again. I want to make sure to thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for teaching what you're teaching. Thank you for taking part in all this. I hope these remarks are in some way helpful. What I'm going to do this time is give a sense of why I think it does make sense to compare the Holocaust to other events. The first reason is that I don't think you can really figure out anything in history without some kind of comparison. So in the case of the Holocaust, even the word Holocaust or the word Shoah or whatever word you choose, in some sense, it only makes sense because it comes from history and it refers to other events before the events that you're talking about. The second reason that I think comparison makes sense is that if you are familiar with the work of people who keep testimonies and you read the testimonies, you realize that survivors of the Holocaust experienced a number of things. They didn't experience just a clean narrative of the event that we think of as the Holocaust. They might have experienced a number of other things as well, and their lives involve a comparison of this risk and that risk, and often calculations about what to do given different kinds of dangers that they faced. And so if we say you can't compare and we extract everything but what we think of as the Holocaust from the story, we're also impoverishing, I think in some sense falsifying the evidence and the memory of the survivors. A third reason why comparison is very important is that the Holocaust can lead you to other things. First, I mean this in a narrow way, that if you listen hard to the sources around the Holocaust, then you can find out about crimes that you didn't know about. So for example, the Germans starved about 3 million Soviet prisoners of war to death. This was their second worst crime in terms of the numbers during the Second World War, but almost nobody knows about it. The reason nobody knows about it is that nobody takes care of the sources. Nobody identifies with that particular group of the dead. The Soviet Union didn't take care of them, memorialize them in any way. But if you listen hard to survivor testimonies, you can hear evidence of what's going on. And then the Holocaust also broadens in another way, and that is that people who have had other kinds of experiences can help us to understand the Holocaust. So for example, African Americans and others who write about colonization and imperialism and slavery can help us to see aspects of the Holocaust. And one aspect of the Holocaust is precisely an attempt to colonize people who are regarded as inferior. For me, that's an indispensable element of understanding the Holocaust. And it helps to understand that if you can hear voices coming from the United States or voices coming from Africa or other people who have worked on colonization. The Holocaust can also broaden in that it can help you to see other events, right? So other events can help you to see it, but it can help you to see other events. So for example, if we try hard to figure out what the causes of the Holocaust are, then we create for ourselves a toolkit which can help us to understand later genocides, right? So in my book, Black Earth, I don't just describe the Holocaust, I try very hard to explain it, to figure out what some of the causes are. And if you can be correct about what some of the causes are, then you'll have insight into, and maybe even early warning about, later episodes of genocide. And of course, that's a comparison going forward. But it seems clear to me that one reason why we should care about the Holocaust is that we should take care that other things that are in some way similar don't happen again. So that's a very brief case for making comparisons. This has been a little hard for me because I'm very much on one side of this issue, but I hope it's been useful for you, and I hope these sessions are useful for you.
Okay. So what did we hear there? Any ideas about why it would be useful to do this sort of comparative study? I didn't mean to do that. Any ideas based on what he said?
I just think it's simple, what he said. You're just comparing
things that happen so that those things don't happen again, and we can learn from each thing that happened. So, it's good to compare and contrast.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right. I think that, and I think the point that he also makes about, if we just focus on the part that fits one narrative, then in some ways we're not listening to the whole story. And so I think all of that together is some of the basis of what this curriculum is. And so I wanted to show you, there are some links that I'm sharing with a QR code later, but it's a full curriculum with many parts that deal with this sort of comparative, race and citizenship in Nazi Germany and Jim Crow America. And so for the part that I want to talk about with you and show you, this is one chapter, and it talks about, that's Leon Bass, right? And he gave testimony about his experiences in World War II, in both the United States and abroad. The way that I use this in my class is actually to start with something that is incredibly jarring.
Could I ask a favor, please?
Yes.
I just want to know two things. If it's possible for us to see you, and also secondly, if it's possible for you to make that screen any bigger, because it
This
looks like
screen?
pretty small. Yeah, it's not even like the
Yes,
size of my
there
face.
is. Hang on. Yes, there probably is. 1 second. Let's see. If I stop the sharing or I go to the Zoom, hang on. I don't know if you can see us, to be honest with you, because we're not
The way
in
the camera's
the way the camera's set up.
It's just it's distracting because we hear this voice and we don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah, it seems valid. Hang on. I'm gonna stop the share for a second, because then. Hi,
Smart.
hi, friends.
Hi.
Hi. If I share the screen with you. I was trying to do it so it was side by side, but is that better for you?
You had it a minute ago, but you don't need to see our faces, do you?
No. But is
You had
that
a nice-
better? Is
you had
that
a nice
better?
big- No, it's the same.
That's not
You had-
better.
You had a nice big one about 5 seconds ago.
Hold on. What?
I think it's when they were on the screen.
When you were on the screen, it was better?
No.
No.
You need to see us during this whole thing because we're taking up a lot of space.
No, we don't, well, we can't see you. But, hang on, do they have access to this presentation? Because I can also put it in the chat, hang on. Or maybe I can't because it's not in my, hang on. I gotta think about this for 1 second.
I have it on my email, if you wanna.
Can you share can you share like from your phone or something, can you
I
share?
can share it from my computer in there.
So he's gonna
Well,
share.
I'm not, just do it from. I'm on my email. Oh, wait, okay.
1 second.
Yeah.
If I
it's out.
Wait 1 second. I can just drop the link. Oh, I can't because it's not on my email. 1
Didn't you send
second.
it to me?
I did send it to you. I apologize. What do you want to do it? Because I don't have their
Yeah,
email.
from here.
Anyway, friend, so I'm about to show you a very exciting group. Well, while we do that, I'm gonna. I can't believe you came.
It's so cool.
We do have a teacher here.
Yes, heard that. So real quickly, Barbara, so can I just ask what brought the rest of you here, either online or in person? If you wouldn't mind sharing what brought you here?
I thought I was signing up for tomorrow's program. Signed up today and then went back.
It's a really good, I have nothing to do with it, but I know the story
Signed up
sounds
for
it's,
tomorrow.
yeah, it's an
And
amazing
just
story. And Connecticut should be so proud of that story. We should.
See if that-
Oh, that's a Google Doc, where's the other?
That's not,
And do you want to share
yeah,
or?
so go to slideshow.
Hi, Sharon. I was here on Thursday for Lindsay's other presentation. She did such a good job that I didn't for long.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And
And I'm just interested in the Holocaust and
I missed one already. It was the son of the Holocaust. I missed that one, and
You can do
I
that.
was
You're
here for
happy
another
to share.
program,
Okay.
and that's not until Thursday, so I
Here's-
figured, well, I'll go to
Here,
the,
you guys see it in the chat?
So that should pull up the presentation
It's a
for
beautiful
you.
exhibit. I mean, the traveling is a
Wonderful.
wonderful
oh, it's
exhibit.
absolutely wonderful, so here I am.
It is a great exhibit, the one in the other room. Does that work? Do you see the presentation
In the
in
chat?
the chat? There are two links that are in the chat now. One should be to the doc with some of the curriculum, and one should be to the presentation.
I'm able to see the presentation, but it says I need access for the docs.
Okay, 1 second. Let me give you access. You should have access now. And it should be, I'm changing the access so that it's anyone with the link, so it should work. Does that, if you refresh, does that work now? It should.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna try and do it this way, so my back's not to anyone, and then when I'm not sharing, you can see it.
Yeah, I have access now. Thank you.
Okay, great. So I'm gonna share my screen again, but then if it's not big enough, then you have the presentation so you can look and see what we're looking at. Does that track? Okay, great. So the cancel. All right, so this to me is the most crazy thing I've ever seen. And it's what I start looking at when I bring this to students, once we start. So we typically start learning about the Holocaust with the testimony, or sometimes if I'm talking about enslavement in the United States, even in my world history class, we'll talk about Jim Crow and that evolution. However I come from it, like it changes year to year. But what I then do is put up this map. Does anyone see what this map is? It's nuts. So
Map, actually. Where's the map?
it's on the slideshow and the screen.
Is it number 1, number 2? I don't see a map.
So if you're looking
Oh,
at the
I might be on the wrong one. I'm on listening to Holocaust testimonies. I thought I was on the one about this soldier.
No, it's before
No,
that.
it's before that. It says Jim Crow through Nazi eyes.
I don't have that. I have Race and Citizenship curriculum or a black soldier in the segregated army.
So
Oh,
you're
I think
on
she's looking
you're
at
on
the
the
curriculum.
you're on the Google Doc and not on the presentation.
But I think I was on the presentation that looked like a slideshow, but it doesn't have a map. It has 6 still photographs.
Can you see? I'm still sharing my screen. Can you see that at all?
I don't really know. I don't know what this is. It says listening to Holocaust testimonies. Oh, there's another part that says introduction for teachers.
So you're on the curriculum itself, it seems,
Mhm.
but
I
not the
don't see a map.
slideshow.
Yeah. I don't see a map. So where do I find that?
On the slideshow that's in the chat.
Right. I think it's the shorter link, right? It's a much shorter link.
It's a second.
There's one link that's really, really long and one link that's really short, right?
Oh, okay. Okay, I get what you're saying. Maybe I clicked the wrong one. Let's see if I can find back where I was before. You better go ahead without me. I know what you're talking about. I just can't find it.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm happy to, if you email or anything, I'm happy to share it with you. I'm sorry that this is a challenge with technology. But what this map is, well, what is this map? Can anyone see what it says up here? Who can see the map? What is it? What does the key say?
What language is it in?
German.
So it's in German. What is it a map of?
United States.
The United States. What is the title of the map?
How race questions arise,
Uh-huh.
white and black in America.
Right, so this is about German understanding of the laws that we had, of our Jim Crow laws, right? This is their understanding of it from Nazis being sent around the United States to basically learn about what we were doing to Black people in some ways so that they could do it to Jews, right? That's the correlation that's in a book by Paul Whitman called Hitler's American Model, and maps like this kind of propaganda was literally like to be found in a dentist's office in Germany, right? And the idea is that like if America can do it, so can we, right? And it is probably the most jarring thing that I've seen to make this sort of connection. And so it brings up a lot of questions for students, like what were the Nazis looking at? Were they right? Right? Because it has these different sort of statutes, right? So the legend has like no right to vote, no intermarriage, voting restrictions, segregation in schools, right? And so it offers an opportunity to have students look at American laws and to see like, were the Germans right about us? And they largely were. And then it also just sort of brings really together this question of comparative, right? Like how do we look at these? What I have students do is think about it through the lens of what ways do states elevate or oppress people? And so what that actually looks like in practice is actually, these are my handouts, right? So students look at laws like Jim Crow laws, right? What's the purpose of the laws? What seems to be, regulating people's lives? And so they look at those. I also put it in the context of apartheid because South Africa was also looking to the United States. And again, I teach this to high school kids in world history. So we look at that. And again, there are questions, what's the purpose of the laws? How are we elevating or oppressing people? And then they've looked at the Nuremberg laws as well, right? The ones that the Nazis then formulated to persecute the Jews even before the Holocaust. And so I have them do a comparative here, right? How did the Nuremberg laws use the construct of race to exclude Jews from German citizenship? And how is that similar? So we're asking about key provisions. How would you imagine the victims of the laws to have their daily lives impacted, and what questions do you have? So that's sort of one way that we look at it. We're also using, hang on. So we're also actually using the map, right? So I have them look at the map and test sort of the claims of the map. And I have them actually look at the 1890 Mississippi Constitution. So it's very much a comparative look at the laws in both the United States and Germany. I was going to, since it's a testimony-based curriculum, I thought I would show you one clip of Leon Bass talking about his life being a Black soldier in a segregated army and noticing what was happening. See, there's the map again, actually in the curriculum. So teachers can actually go to this and follow along on what we call story maps here and walk students through it. I don't have that kind of time, so I wanted to show you how I do it in a relatively sort of short time.
But can I just say real quickly, if you have
Yes.
more time, or even, I know some of you aren't teachers, But if you click on, do you mind going back, Lindsay, to the map, going back up?
Oh,
If
the
you
one
click
can
on
click
each one of
yeah.
those states,
Yeah,
it'll give you more information. So
Right.
the students can click on the state
right.
and it'll
Select
tell
Georgia.
you, individually. So if you want, or even just for your own information, if you're not a teacher, it's if it's hard to read the legend, but then
Right.
you
there
can
it has,
go
like, the
in
Nazi
if
claim,
you
no
like
right
for
to
teachers
vote.
who have more time or just for your own information, there's just a wealth of information. Like if you're a teacher, you could probably teach this for a year. And if you're you'd like to learn, this is a great place to get a lot of knowledge through this whole curriculum, following
Yeah.
this whole guide. And it's very easy to follow, so much information, and it just kind of takes you through the whole thing.
Yeah. So again, in the realm of like the things that I didn't know really, even though I've been teaching this for almost 20 years, until I learned about this curriculum, I had never seen that map. And I had also never heard Dr. Leon Bass's testimony. And this one specifically, right, it's all a testimony-based curriculum. And so this is a short excerpt, so bear with me. But the questions that we can think about, he's talking about being discriminated against and sort of what stands out, what are the instances he described, what questions do you have, and then how the testimony provided relates to the claims by the Nazi map of US race laws, and what other kinds of sources would you want to look at to test the claim, right? Because we're historians, so we're testing the claim. So watch a little Leon Bass, and then we'll talk about how this curriculum actually works in a middle school.
At this time, I wanted to get out of the Army.
No, we're not going to do that full screen. I lied.
At this time, I wanted to get out of the Army. I'll be very honest with you. After my experiences, I really did not want to be in this man's army. And especially after having to stand on a bus when there were no seats at the back, having to stand up for 100 miles and looking at empty seats. Yeah, that didn't endear me to my country. Couldn't eat in a restaurant. I had to go around the back and knock on the door to get food. And I'm in a uniform. And I saw PWs, prisoners of war from Germany, being allowed to go in a restaurant and sit down to eat, and yet I was not entitled to that same opportunity. So it left me with a bitter taste, and yet our unit left by way of Boston, across the Atlantic, and to England, where we spent 3 months.
What is he describing happening to him in the United States? What is he describing as his experience? Discrimination,
Second-class citizenship.
right? Segregation, second-class citizenship, all of that. So the part that, because I think, again, I'm not an American history teacher, I really didn't understand the extent to which we kept German POWs in this country, much less the image of German POWs sitting at a lunch counter and an African-American service member having to go around the back and have that kind of discrimination while Nazis are sitting in the restaurant. Like that was something that until, when did this curriculum come out? Five or 6 years ago? I didn't know.
Yeah, I was confused by I was like, POW,
where is it
again? You know, it was like,
we had Germans here who were treated better. Right? I mean, it's that kind of thing that when you can first of all, I mean, I show this curriculum, honestly, like I know not all of you are teachers. I actually show this curriculum to my non-teaching friends and family because I think it is so jarring, so important, and so much is not known. And when I do it with high school kids, I have to tell you, they really care. They are shocked, they are appalled. And then it gets into questions also of like, how should we be learning our own history? Why didn't we see those maps before? And it goes into sort of the bigger world narrative that I'm talking about in terms of America and the world in the 19th and mid 20th centuries. But now you've heard from me for way too long.
Lindsay?
Yes.
Just, I don't know if you're gonna show other excerpts of Leon, and I know he referenced Boston there, but doesn't some of the other.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's another surprise in
Right.
where
Yes.
that's happening. Yeah.
Yes.
We had German
He's a
POWs.
man of surprises.
Up at Bradley Airport, we had some POWs, Germans.
I believe it.
Yeah,
I
and
didn't
right,
know.
this I know because my father was one of the people who brought German POWs over, so that was something I always, but that's only because of not my experience, but before I start, and I'm Colleen, and I'm the middle school teacher, our wonderful friends on Zoom, and I feel, like you said before, I feel like I'm talking
I know I'm
to outer space, I know.
Zoom
But
friends.
if you wouldn't mind just telling us what brought you here tonight, are you educators? Are you curious about learning more information, or just tell us real quickly what brought you here tonight? Just, through all the suffering of technology. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Azure. I'm a Sacred Heart student. I'm getting my master's in social work.
Oh,
So one of our assignments is called like the civil disobedience. So we are required to go to like an event or a rally or something that kind of talks about issues of racism and different things. So I have a really busy schedule, so I kind of had to look up something, and this was something that popped up, and
Good.
being Zoom was the easiest option for me.
Well, I hope with all those things that you are very happy you chose this. So I think it's going to fit your bill quite well. So congratulations on
Thank
getting your MSW. That's exciting.
Thank you.
And our other friend,
I don't see her. I think she left.
I guess you couldn't deal with I'm so sorry. We'll send it. Well, anyway, okay.
The voice coming from, it looks like you're like looking to the head.
I know, it's like,
And responding to this.
for
Yes,
many
that
reasons,
speaks-
for many
speak
reasons.
her up.
Okay. So as Lindsay said, so I teach a very different curriculum to a very different student population. Ironically, that's not the ironic, I teach at a Jewish day school, but I don't teach the Holocaust. And I don't teach this through the lens of the Holocaust. And one of the things that I love about this curriculum as a teacher, if you notice, Lindsay had tweaked it and made it work for her and added some new questions and brought in apartheid. That's the beauty of this curriculum, because if you're a teacher, we're all very unique. We want basic good information, but sometimes our classes are different, and that's what's so great. It's very accommodating to different styles of teaching and different ideas of teaching. I presented it once, and a teacher came up to me and said, "Oh, good, I have my lesson for tomorrow." You can either do it exactly as written, or you can kind of tweak it a little bit. So we're back to Dr. Bass, and he is just an amazing man. So I teach 8th grade American history, and I teach it through the lens of who was already here, who was forced to come, and who chose to come. So we cover a lot, and so we start with enslavement, and we go through the Great Migration and civil rights, and Dr. Bass, like I could just use him, and he could teach my whole class because he speaks so beautifully. And the nice thing with testimony is his emotion, and also students hear from the person. They're not hearing from me all the time. They're hearing from someone who experienced it. And it's whether it's Dr. Bass or someone else who has had this experience. And Dr. Bass is just he was a high school principal also, so he's used to speaking. But we're going to learn about him. But one of the things, this testimony, we kind of left off, he's in the army. His father was part of the Great Migration. His father had fought in World War I. And when he came back from South Carolina, and he comes back to this world of segregation and Jim Crow laws, and his father, he said, was born right around oh my gosh, I was going to say Pullman. Plessy versus Ferguson. Oh my gosh, sorry, it's been a long day. So things aren't great. So he had been in Europe and he had been treated equally. He comes back. So his family is part of the Great Migration. They moved to Pennsylvania. And if you remember the map, can I go back? Just hit this.
Yeah, you should be able to go back. There
If
go.
you notice, the map is white, which means that there is no racial segregation, there's no illegal intermarriage, they have the right to vote, right, according to this German map. They moved to Pennsylvania. Oh, I went to, oh. Oops, and so, and again, we heard him getting ready to go off to war, and he's dealing with all these indignities and this country, and he wasn't really pro-American at this time. And like, you know, you could hear it in his voice until he gets to Germany. And he does, he liberates Buchenwald. And then he realizes this is where hate leads you. This is what hate does. And it really has a profound impact on his life, because he has his testimony in Fortunoff, but his testimony is also at the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. And because this really impacts his life. And so this next testimony we're going to listen to, and again, so this, you know, this is like the 40s. And so, and again, I teach 8th graders, so you'll kind of understand this a little bit more. So this is another part of the map. This is more, it starts, the curriculum starts with helping our students learn how to listen to testimony, because they're not often used to listening. So this is that historical inquiry and comparisons, what we heard Dr. Snyder talk about. And so this is also, and so he does quite a bit of in this. And again, if you notice, these clips are really short, but there's so much information in each of these little clips. And I just...
And I discovered, though, that the same pain that I left when I left here, the same pain that my father experienced when he came back here, was waiting for me. I came back to this country, and I went to school, and I was walking down High Street with some of my white friends, and we went to a drugstore, and we went in, and they ordered coffee, and I ordered a glass of milk. There must have been about 8 cups of coffee, you know, but no milk. And the lady filled the coffee, put the sugar and cream in, and kept looking for the manager until finally she got his attention and beckoned to him. He came over, she whispered to him. And then he called over one of my white friends and whispered to him. And while doing this, looked right at me. And I knew my antenna was up. I had been conditioned. I knew that something was not kosher. And so I waited until finally the fellow came over and he looked at the coffee. He said, "Let's go, fellas, come on." And he ushered all of us out. And of course, there was some kind of misunderstanding. If the fellow said, wait a minute, the coffee is there." He said, no, we don't want any. He said, "Why?" He said, "They didn't want to serve Leon." Can you imagine? I put in 3 years of my life, put it on the line to make it possible for people like that young lady, that manager, or whoever owned that store, to function and enjoy the rights and privileges of the Americans. And they were saying to me, just like the Nazis did, just like they told me down the South, what they told my father, "Leon, you're not good enough." What a damnable kind of thing to say to somebody. Here I am now, 21, and back from the wars, and still can't get that relief that I needed.
What, and again, like the map is so powerful, but to see, again, and you see that a lot in the testimony, this is 40 years past, and you still see that emotion in his face, and you can't get that with me just reading this. You can't get that with me telling his story, but there's a lot in it. But I just have to stop here because, again, this is a very serious topic. But again, as a teacher, I had to step back because my students just were so confused, because they were like, "Why are they serving coffee and milk at a drugstore? You know, what is he like?" So now I start that lesson with explaining and giving context, because for me, it's, you know, back in the day, but they just could not get past that. So they weren't really hearing what he was saying, because that's all they heard. So we had to play it again. I had to explain it to it. So that's, I started the context of 1947. But then again, you talk to the students, what is he describing? And once they get past the milk and blah, blah, blah. And then when and where do you think this incident took place? And then they remember he's going to college in Philadelphia. And of course, because they have this great colonial educator teacher taught them the 13 original colonies, they know that Philadelphia is in Pennsylvania. And that kind of stops them in their tracks as well, because they're not expecting, sorry, Putin to show up on the screen. They're not, should I hit escape?
Never expecting Putin. No, go to the right with the cursor.
Okay, they're not expecting this to happen in Philadelphia, where all these documents were signed, and they're not expecting it in Pennsylvania, which is a northern state. So again, all of these things help with their inquiry and getting them to question. And it's not, you know, they start like, you know, you said there's things we don't know, and there's things that they don't know, but now they know, and it comes out a lot in their when I do at the end, their evaluations, like the things that they didn't know. So, but this is one of the quotes that and when we were talking about comparisons, and again, the connection he makes between the two race-based systems that violated civil rights and human rights. And just in that little paragraph, he brings in all of this, you know, the 3 years of his life during World War II, right? He put it on the line, and he's talking about that young lady or whoever she was. He doesn't even remember, you know, whoever owned that sort of function and enjoyed the rights and privileges of Americans. And she's saying to me, and again, just like the Nazis did, just like they told me in the South, what they told my father. So he brings all of that in. And that's the heart. Leon, you're not good enough. And that's to me where it comes from. Like that race and citizenship. That's what we're telling people. You're not good enough. And to me, that's the power of hearing. And when you see him and his emotion and all that he has gone through, and if you go through the whole curriculum, you see him, and you also see him in conjunction with a man who was in Buchenwald, the camp. They didn't know each other, but he was in the camp that Leon Bass freed, and his experiences in Germany were very similar. He was a German citizen. His family had been in Germany since the 1700s. And then all of a sudden, he can't play with his friends anymore. He can't do this. And so it just gets to that humanity of, you know, at the one point, they're trying to take away the humanity by all these laws. And I'm not sure how to get to it, but I think I have to hit escape.
Yeah.
Because one of the, I don't know if I,
Put on there. Yeah.
but I think, here, okay, yeah, here it is. So on, so this is the Nazi party platform. And then we do look at this because again, like I said, I don't teach the Holocaust, but we do look at this and look at the Jim Crow laws and look at the Nazi, the Nuremberg laws.
Yeah.
And you know, you can see this about what does it mean to take away citizenship, and how are the Nazis trying to do it, and how are they basing race with citizenship. And one of the things that I took from the book, and we talk a lot about with my students, is one of the things the Nazis noted was African Americans were still citizens. Their citizenship was never taken away. But all these rights were taken away, but citizenship was still there. And then we talk about, so why do you think one of the first things they do is they revoke the citizenship of people who are Jewish? It's one of the first things they do. That was like a conundrum for like, how can they do, like, they're still citizens. So it gets really complicated. And again, that, you know, because I just want us to see the humanness. And that's why the testimony is so powerful. And the students really react to it. And I usually have them do an essay at the end and seeing how they tried to bring race and citizenship together and why this doesn't work. And I don't tell them that. They come to this conclusion themselves. So again, it's because it's all very evidence-based and it's not something that is made up. It's in the Mississippi Constitution. It's in the Nuremberg laws. It's in the Jim Crow laws. You look at any of these states and it's right in their laws. And so,
And some of them to this day still have like outdated laws in their constitutions that you would find pretty surprising.
or have just taken out really recently.
You know, some of the conversation that I think this gets to with high school kids at least is because it really is around this question of race and citizenship. That even though my class typically is looking at Jim Crow, the Nuremberg laws, and apartheid, it gets kids to start thinking about, well, okay, Uyghurs in China, Muslims in India, right? Like, where are states trying to elevate or oppress groups? And how are they doing it? And are they doing it with laws? And it really does get kids investigating. And in terms of, you know, if you want to use the QR code and tell me if it works, and investigate any of what's on this curriculum, I would love to just hear back sort of what you think about, is it John or is it?
John Q. Whitman,
No, the testimony.
Oh, John Weil, W-E-I-L.
Yeah, so,
Weil.
I mean, there's sections that we didn't show you because we're not gonna show you the whole thing right now, but, you know, he's talking about the laws are coming into place and he wants to wear like a Hitler Youth pin because all the other people are wearing the Hitler Youth pin and he doesn't really understand that the state's about to like rip away all of his rights and try and kill him, right? So he's like, I just want to be cool. And then his dad's like, you can't wear that. And he's like, oh, right? Or like his parents stopped being able to go to the movies, or they were allowed to keep their housekeeper because she was over the age where they thought she could be reproducing. And so she was eligible to work in a Jewish house for a little while. And so he's just talking about these things, and it really does reinforce, I think, the usefulness of the comparative in terms of if you've looked at Jim Crow and you've listened to Leon Bass and you look at that map and you start testing it, and then you see the steps even before the Holocaust that the Nazis were able to take to just piecemeal, just dehumanize and take away citizenship and just really tear away any kind of human rights that Jews had in Germany. It is this, I think, to Tim Snyder's point, a really useful way to think about, as humans, what do we need to watch for in our states, right? Not that all of history is prescriptive and that, you know, it doesn't repeat, it rhymes, but it is something where when you do the comparison, you have to think like, what do states do to elevate and to oppress? And I think it's really cool that Colleen can do it with middle school kids.
Hopefully, and they'll take it forward.
And they take it forward and come to us. So if anybody wants to, I know it's an hour seems to be about a good enough time to like sit, but I would love to know if you want to look through anything, if you have any questions.
And especially, I would love to keep going like this. I would love to hear from the woman from Sacred Heart. If this is how this is. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, so like how, if you think, you know, because obviously you have the Meriden Libraries or the Zoom address, or they might have your contact. It'd be just interesting how you're taking this information in another way with your assignment. If you know, that would be an interesting way to look at it as well, if how it is going to work within what you're doing. So I don't know if you'd be willing to share that with either Jared. Can we put your email in the chat? Do I know how to do that? I'm old.
Do you want me to put my email in the chat.
Oh, okay. Oh, you have the, okay, signed up. Yeah, that would be just,
I could give it to you.
it just would be interesting to know how, because your assignment sounds really interesting and how, if you can use this and how this would work in that as well. Because like we're in the education field and it's just would be interesting.
Okay,
Thank you.
no problem.
Any questions or thoughts about anything that we shared with you or no? Yeah.
I have a question. This curriculum that you're using, is it just locally? Is it
No,
nationwide?
It's public facing, and when we did teacher training institutes with it a few years ago, there were teachers from around the country. There are teachers, so we're both on the Fortunoff has a teacher advisory council, and there are teachers, a lot of them are from the area, but some are not. And look, our goal and our hope is that part of what we're doing here is to let people know it's there.
Yeah, I've done workshops in North Carolina and Louisiana and someplace else in Tennessee, in the South. So it's people find out about it and if they want to learn more, and I've sent it to other teachers that have been interested, like Lindsay said, all over the country.
And is there a cost for this?
No.
No. Because again, teachers, one thing about, we love free. We love free.
And it's, I think it, especially, you know, again, it's like a survivor started archive.
Mhm.
And so I think the ethos really is wanting to empower people to tell their stories. And while it's a curriculum, it's also just, I mean, it's there for people to bear witness, to learn, to understand. I took it to Vegas.
Yep.
It was the college board. It wasn't like I took it to Vegas, but
My grandson is a history teacher in high school, and this is his first year.
Oh.
So as I'm watching this,
send
I'm
him my
thinking-
way. I'm
I'm
happy
thinking
to.
of him,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, where
he's
is
in, out on Long Island.
Great.
And-
Yeah.
And he's at a private high school. So I'm thinking that because this is being recorded,
Mhm.
the people that
Absolutely.
signed up will be getting a link for this.
I can send it.
So I can just forward that to him.
Yeah.
Great.
And
And you can
is
put him in
that
touch with
QR
me
code?
too. The QR code works. It
No, but
goes
is
to all
that
of our
for
stuff.
the,
Goes to all of our stuff.
but there's a link in there for but that's the link for the story maps for the,
Uh-huh.
yeah, so, and that will be, so if he has
That's not
that, he can just go on the QR code and he'll have the whole, everything is, and it's
Yeah.
amazing what's there. It's
He might be
amazing.
interested in
Yeah.
this, you know?
And then you can't.
Something that came out, so Lindsay's session last week talked about,
Oh, weird.
you
Okay.
know,
So
the
I'm
using
missing-
testimony part of it, and the curriculum she does on that piece in her classes led to a student club. And then because it was student focused, what they wanted to do, they reached out and they started volunteering with Jewish Family Services with the refugee population down in Fairfield County where she is. So it has all these other iterations that could come out of it, and especially once there's a piece where the students want to take ownership.
Because it's
So
meant to
that's
live,
powerful.
right? It's meant
Yeah.
to live and it's meant to be adapted by teachers and
Well, you
used by
You can see a
teachers.
correlation of today.
Mhm.
Are there any testimonials from Native Americans?
Not in this.
Not in
No,
this.
no.
Not in this one. It would be great if they were.
I think they based the Nuremberg laws onto the reservations and everything, not just the Jim Crow laws. So it's so
I
how they
watched
treated
and
Native
heard,
Americans.
documentary on the
Yeah.
Holocaust, and
Try to
a
get
lot of
the
what
reading
he
access.
said, I'm hearing.
Well, when he wrote the book, Hitler's American Model, he said he expected to find some correlation, but he was, what he found was just, and then like when he read Mein Kampf, he said everything was laid out there. Like nothing was a surprise. It was all there.
What surprised me the most was the Nazis using the Jim Crow laws as a roadmap.
Yeah.
They had lawyers in the United States
Yeah,
studying.
we're traveling all around. Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
And so when you come for the Southbury, again, it's the same, it's just, but that's why Southbury, we should be very proud in Connecticut.
Well, and I had no idea that that was, again, world history. Sometimes I don't know as much about local, but I had no idea they were trying to put a Hitler Youth camp here.
That was a good program.
They went in Long Island too.
Right, there
And
was,
New
there was a
Jersey.
big one in Long Island, a very successful Hitler
But we
Youth
said
camp
no.
in Long Island.
Mhm.
Well, I hope that this works. If it doesn't work, I can try and, you have all the links anyway.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
you have
not-
everything, so you can send it
And that's a
out.
great idea. If any of you also know any teachers or other teachers or, because again, I don't teach, it was made, it's under Holocaust but I don't teach the Holocaust and you don't have to use all the lessons. You can use parts of it. So if somebody says, oh, I don't teach, there's enough in there that you can pull out, even just learning how to teach students to use primary sources. Like if you just, there's just so much in there. It's just such a gift that is there
It's
for, and especially if he's a
incredibly-
first year teacher.
It's incredible.
There's so much
Like,
for him
you
to
can see
use.
there's a lot. Yeah.
Even if he doesn't want to teach, if he has to use, how to use primary sources and how to, again, because it's really teaching the students how to be historians, which is, how to think critically and look at information and it's just a gift.
Any other questions, comments, thoughts, feelings? Anything? No. Well, really happy that you all came.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you for sticking with us through all of the shenanigans.
Thank you.
Sorry.
And please keep us informed. I'd love to hear how it goes.
I will. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
I feel bad that Melanie Wolf was frustrated.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
She wrote
We
something.
have her.
Yeah,
My
she
father
said she's
had testified for the
She's like,
Fortunoff.
she's very frustrated. I think she should probably get.
She's a
no.
teacher?
Just talking trash about you, Shane?
About me?
No, God, it's fine.
I
I don't know what was
that name too.
I can't believe it's so funny.
I don't know how to
My
use-
best friend forever.
Right, I don't know.
Even actually.
You just minimize that.
Right.
Also?
No, Northanger.
Oh, I thought I-
Yeah.
Colleen, and she's a teacher.
Yeah, we're